Welcome to Meet the Press Now. I'm Kristen Welker in Washington following that breaking news and a dramatic military escalation in the Middle East. This was the scene in Israel just a short time ago. Air raid sirens blaring as the country's Iron Dome defense system intercepted missiles launched from Iran. Now, it's unclear just how much damage has been done, but at least one building in Tel Aviv appeared damaged and on fire as smoke billowed over parts of the city. Iran says it launched hundreds of missiles as it begins its retaliation. Israeli officials say the number was less than 100. Now, it comes after Israel launched a major series of overnight strikes targeting Iran's nuclear facilities and other military targets. The strikes also killing Iran's top military commander and nuclear scientists. Israeli military officials say last night's strikes were just the beginning of a multi-day campaign. These were some of the images in Tehran from overnight as explosions rocked the capital city. You saw that bright flash lighting up the city and these images of buildings in Tehran on fire. Similar scenes playing out in other cities across Iran. You can see here fire and smoke billowing in the aftermath of a strike on the Natanz nuclear facility, Iran's main enrichment center. In an early morning video address, Prime Minister Netanyahu called the military operations a preemptive attack on Iran's nuclear program and warned that the fighting could continue for days.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action.
The overnight strikes derailing nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran that were set to take place this weekend, while raising concerns from analysts that Iran could now instead try to rush toward building a nuclear bomb. The strikes also putting American assets in the region on alert. In a statement, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was quick to try to distance the United States from Israel's military operations, saying the U.S. was not involved in the strikes. Prime Minister Netanyahu has confirmed that the U.S. was given a heads up about the operation. And during a phone call with my colleague Garrett Haake, President Trump appeared pleased with Israel's military operation, telling Garrett, quote, "They had the finest equipment in the world, which is American equipment." Joining me now is our team of reporters. NBC News international correspondent Matt Bradley is in Tel Aviv. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons is in Dubai. Also with me is NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba and NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube, who's at the Pentagon. And joining us on the phone is NBC's chief international correspondent Richard Engel. Matt Bradley, let me start with you. What is the situation on the ground there in Tel Aviv?
Well, I got to tell you, it's surprising. It's quite calm. As you can see, this skyline looks like the one I left when I went down to the safe room just a couple of hours ago. We haven't heard, while I've been up here, any strikes. We haven't heard any interceptions and any sirens, and that's because my team, we're all playing it safe. We went to the safe room. We stayed there. We broadcast live from there, and we didn't leave until we got the all clear from the IDF. But for those people who didn't go, and for our cameras, you could see that spectacle over this skyline, all of those missiles being intercepted. According to the Israelis, less than 100 of them, which was a pretty underwhelming show of force and retaliation, considering the angry language and aggressive rhetoric we've been hearing from the Iranians all day long. This was the show of force they put up. Now, we don't know if this is over. We don't know if this is going to spill into the next couple of days or weeks. We know from the Israeli side that they're planning a days or weeks-long attack on the Iranians, and so far, they haven't let up. But what we did see tonight, in addition to the terrifying vision that we got from this rooftop, was a little glimpse of the Iranian military capabilities left over from that comprehensive Israeli attack overnight. Because remember, that attack didn't just target the nuclear installations, the leadership of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It didn't just kill those 5 nuclear physicists. It also attacked more conventional weapons capabilities, its anti-aircraft capabilities, its anti-air missiles, and its ballistic missiles. The Iranians said it was ballistic missiles that they were firing at Israel tonight, and maybe that's why they didn't have that many to spend or that many to lose. Because the fact is, the Israelis put them squarely in their crosshairs during that huge assault. So it looks as though we got a little bit of a taste of just how much the Iranians thought they could spend on their so-called enormous retaliation that they've been broadcasting all day. If this is it, if this is all they have, it just goes to show that they have been badly damaged by the Israelis.
And the images are extraordinary, Matt Bradley. We are so glad that you and your team were able to make it to safety. Let's talk about the timing of these strikes. The backdrop to this, the United States holding talks with Iranian officials, trying to reach an agreement over its nuclear program. President Trump had reportedly urged Prime Minister Netanyahu not to attack some time ago, but now obviously the prime minister's calculation had changed. It's our understanding he did give President Trump a heads up. Why now? What is your latest reporting there, Matt?
Well, we don't know exactly, but we did hear from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu a little bit earlier today. He spoke to the Israeli public and he laid out the timeline and his thinking behind all of this. One of the things he did say was that back last year, if you remember, the Israelis assassinated in a huge explosion. I was right there, not right next to it, but I was very close to it when I was in Beirut last year, killing Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah. Hezbollah was the primary cat's paw of the Iranian regime. It snuggled right up next to Israel's northern border. It had a huge missile arsenal. And again, like so many of Israel's adversaries in the past year and a half, it has been almost completely dismantled and decapitated by assassinations. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in his speech to the public, said that after the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, the military echelon here, the leaders, decided that Iran would most likely move very quickly toward a nuclear weapon. So they decided that they needed to make a plan to totally destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities. And so it was then that this plan was set in motion. But this really is, for Benjamin Netanyahu, the culmination of a career's ambition to attack Iran and destroy its nuclear capabilities. He did say today that this whole plan was supposed to happen in April, and it got delayed for reasons that he didn't actually specify. It got delayed until now, just 2 days before the 6th round of those Iranian-U.S. peace talks. It sounds as though there might have been some frustration, and we heard this from President Trump just earlier today, that the Iranians weren't willing to accede to a deal. So there definitely was a green light from Washington that allowed this very well-planned, very well-executed procedure to move ahead.
Matt Bradley, thank you so much for starting us off, and please do continue to stay safe. Keir Simmons, let me turn to you now. What is Iran saying about the strikes that it just launched? And to Matt's point, is what we witnessed basically the fact that Iran has been diminished in its power?
Well, we don't know. Certainly, there has been an assessment that Iran had pretty frightening capability. If it is not able to use that capability at this stage, or if it no longer has it, if it's been defanged effectively, then Matt's absolutely right. That is a key moment, an absolutely key moment in all of this. Iran's president just today addressed the nation, saying Iran's legitimate and powerful response will make Israel regret its foolish act. If what Matt is saying turns out to be right, it's nighttime here in the region now. If what he is saying turns out to be correct in the morning, then that will be that threat will not have been seen through by Iran. And here's one of the reasons, Kristen, why it is so important, because we have reports tonight, and I think you'll talk more about this there in Washington in a moment. We have reports tonight that the US is assisting Israel in these defenses against the Iranian attack. Now, why that's important is because imagine if tonight, and this is when we talk about being on the precipice, imagine if tonight there had been a very damaging strike, a deadly strike in Israel. The likelihood is that would pull the Trump administration into the conflict. It would pull the US into the conflict because it would feel that it would have to defend and support its partner in Israel. So by ensuring, if this is what happens in the coming hours and days, and what has happened now in these past few hours, by ensuring that Iran was not able to land a deadly blow, potentially that is a de-escalation rather than an escalation.
And that is the big concern, Keir, looming over all of this. Could this not ensnare not only the wider region, but the United States? Keir, quickly talk about the targets that Israel hit in Iran, its nuclear facilities. How damaging a blow was Israel able to pull off?
Well, we've seen the smoke over Natanz. We've seen the smoke over Fordo, and Esfahan apparently too has been hit. There were reports, there was an assessment before these strikes that the only munitions that could truly take out, if you like, Iran's capability, this well buried nuclear capability, were US bombs, 30,000-pound bombs from B-2 bombers. We're going to find out whether Israel actually is capable, and here's why it's important. Again, it's about escalation versus de-escalation. If Israel is not able in these waves of strikes to significantly reduce, if not end, Iran's nuclear program, then Iran may decide that it will rework it and that it will reach for a nuclear missile. And that could be the kind of nuclear escalation that everyone fears.
All right, Keir Simmons, thank you so much for that broader perspective. We really appreciate it. Courtney Kube, walk us through what we saw in Israel. What is the Pentagon saying? What are they watching?
Well, the Pentagon's not telling us anything, frankly. I mean, they haven't spoken. We've gotten no statement out of the Secretary of Defense. But officials who we are talking to say that, in fact, the United States did help Israel defend from this enormous barrage of projectiles, including estimates of more than 100 ballistic missiles that came from Iran fired towards Israel. Now, the U.S. used ground-based interceptors to help with this. That's the THAAD, the Patriot. Those are both ground-based missile defense interceptors that have the ability to take on various ranges, including even medium-range ballistic missiles. The U.S. has other things, though, in the region that could help if, in fact, Iran continues to target Israel. Things like missile defense ships off the coast in the Mediterranean, nearby in the Red Sea. They've been used in the past to help defend Israel. But they also have aircraft, fighter jets, fighter squadrons there that have also in the past been used to try to defend Israel. You'll recall that during one of these back and forths between Israel and Iran last year, U.S. aircraft were in the air shooting down drones that were flying from Iran to Israel, taking them out, Kristen. But again, at this point, all that was used were these ground-based interceptors in this current salvo by the Iranians.
And Courtney, Israel is saying that it killed 3 top military officials. What are the implications of that? And to what extent does it fit into the retaliatory measures that Israel is bracing for? Of course, we've already seen some, but could there be more because of that?
Yeah, I mean, right now, what Israel is clearly trying to do, there's various levels of what they have said in the past that they would want to do regarding the nuclear program in Iran. Back in October, they took a strike that was to send a message to Iran. Look, we can fly in your airspace. We can take out things right around your nuclear facilities. And they were able to completely take out, or at least harm, most of Iran's strategic air defense systems. This is different, though, Kristen. In this case, they are not only showing that they can go after Iran's nuclear facilities, but they are going after the people who run them, the experts, the generals in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the nuclear scientists who are involved in the program. This is clearly an effort, according to Bibi Netanyahu, it's going to go on for days, even a couple of weeks. This is clearly an effort not just to disable or to hurt the Iranian nuclear program, but it sure looks like the Israelis are trying to destroy it this time, Kristen.
Well, it's a really important fine point to put on what we are witnessing. Courtney Kube, thank you for your fantastic reporting from the Pentagon. Monica Alba, let me turn to you. As Courtney was just saying, the United States was helping Israel to intercept some of these missiles from Iran. What are your White House officials there saying to you about the very latest, how the president is monitoring all of this?
Yeah, and it's not a surprise, Kristen, that the U.S. would play that role, given that there are hundreds of thousands of Americans who live in Israel. There are military assets in the region that the U.S. would be interested in protecting. And so, of course, they're saying that's why, and that's part of the key context for why U.S. officials are aiding in the Israeli defensive posture here. But it is notable what we're not hearing, which is the president come out and speak before cameras. He's doing a lot of diplomatic work behind the scenes, I'm told. He was on the phone with Prime Minister Netanyahu earlier today. He also spoke with the British Prime Minister. We understand there are a couple of other world leaders